Hello guys, Khalory here, and this episode I'm going to start out by explaining something kind of like vanilla but different. You can see right here this is called an ender chest, and you guys probably know that the vanilla ender chests, of course. This is, as you can see, a different recipe and it looks very different. So I'm going to make two of these and show you how these work. So if I put these two down, you can see that they have these three colored blocks at the top, and currently they're both white. All three of them are white on both ender chests. So if I open one of these, it will actually open both ender chests because they have the same frequency. However, you can actually change the frequency by using a color of dye on one of these. So as you can see, like this, it will look like you're selecting the whole block, but if you hover over just that, you can actually see that you're just hovering over that particular block. So just for the sake of the demo, I'm going to color the middle one red. And now if I open this up, the other one doesn't open, and the same is true if I open this chest. However, if I take this and I color this one red again, it will open both. Now opening both isn't just for show, it actually means that they're the same ender chest. So I can pull cobblestone out of here, which I had just put in the other chest, and likewise like this. And he just put in some sulfur goo, which I can pull out of this chest. So basically this is a very different way than vanilla ender chests work. These vanilla ender chests, they work with only one per player, but with these you can actually set different frequencies and the same player can or rather, different players can access the same frequency. Now you may think that this offers less function. This is worse in some way because players can't keep all their stuff private. However, you can lock the ender chests. I would show you now, but it's actually fairly expensive. It requires 1 diamond for each one. And what you do to lock it is you basically use a diamond on this lock latch right here. And when you do that, it will become your own private ender chest frequency. And any ender chests that you place that are also locked will share the same frequencies. And so even if you do that, you'll still get the full range of frequencies. It's just that all of the frequencies that you set that are locked to your personal use, only those will connect. So you could have these be the same color and only one of them be locked, and they won't open each other. And for an additional component of this mod, you can actually see this. You may have seen it hovering around my inventory last episode. And I can actually change the frequency by right-clicking on one of these ender chests. To show you guys, I'll get out another ender chest which I've made. And this is red, red, white. So if you look at my ender pouch, you can see that when I right-click, it becomes red, red, white, and back to white, red, white. And this also isn't just for show. When I right-click, you can open this in your hand, just like you could with a canvas bag, except that it's actually connected to these ender chests. So I'm going to switch to my sword here, and put some sulfur goo, cobblestone, dirt in there. I'm going to go over here and open up my ender pouch, and you can see that all those items are in there. Now I can also do it with this, of course, and just like that, grab my bucket from wherever I am. So this can be incredibly useful for a number of different ways. For instance, what I was doing with this chest was automatically pulling out of it, such as with a wooden pipe and a redstone engine. And so what you can do is actually have it set up with a redstone engine so that whenever you put items into the ender chest, it will automatically get pulled out. And that's very useful if you're adventuring, because what you can actually do is just, whenever your inventory is full, just throw in everything that you want to send home, and it will get pulled automatically out of the ender chest, as long as you're carrying the ender pouch. And a neat special trick you can do with this as well is if you put all of your stuff in the ender chest, in the ender pouch while you're adventuring, you can actually, I'll actually show you right now. I'll put all of my stuff in here, Now, this wouldn't quite work if you had a full inventory, but I don't quite. So you can actually put all of your stuff in here, and I'm still holding the ender pouch, but I can actually put the ender pouch inside itself. And that does mean I can't open it anymore, but it also means that I can put every one of my items in there. Now, I forgot to put my armor in there, but you could also put that in there. And what you can do with that is you can actually just let yourself die. You would lose all of your experience levels, but all of your stuff would get safely stored in the ender chest. And another important thing to note is that when you break your ender chest, nothing will fall out. You can actually pick it up and use it again. So that's the only ender chest of this frequency in the entire world right now. But if I move it over here and then open it up again, it still has all of my items in it. And that's all the basics for the ender storage mod. And there are a huge number of different uses for this, and I'll be showing you them in a very, very nearby future episode. For now, I'll be continuing with some Redpower stuff. So I'll see you guys in just a bit while I get prepared. Alright, to start this off, the Redpower stuff, I'm going to show you this logic circuit that I set up. Basically, it acts as an alarm clock, and I'll explain it in a minute, but for now, I just want you guys to see how it works, or I'll show you how it works in a minute, I mean, but I'll let you see what it does for now. And it should be getting daytime any minute now, and then it should start. Basically, when this is a sequencer, I guess I'll explain it as I go, because it hasn't worked yet. This is a sequencer set to 300 seconds. So when the sequencer reaches that point, it will be the exact time that the sun is rising, and it becomes day. And then that will send out a redstone signal in the direction that it's pointing. And you can see we're really close now. And I'll also explain how to make these. They aren't too difficult. You just need one special item from Redpower 2, which isn't too special. It's just smelting stone, and you get stone wafers. And then you just craft those with various forms of redstone to make all of these circuits. And they can do all sorts of fancy things. Most of which you can do with vanilla Minecraft as well, but in much larger forms. Now that was really, really quick, so you guys might not have seen it. But basically what happens is this sequencer emits a constant redstone signal after it reaches that point. So this will basically emit a redstone signal from dawn until noon. And then this side will emit a redstone signal from noon until evening, and then evening, the start of evening until midnight, and then midnight until dawn. So this will just constantly emit a redstone signal in that direction. And this is a sequencer. And the only reason it works on that perfect schedule is because it's set to 300 seconds. This is actually synchronized with the world clock, so if you set it up to 300 seconds, then it will always work in this exact same way. The next item that it goes into is a pulse former. Basically, this makes it so that if you put a continuous redstone signal, like from the sequencer, in it, it will actually only send out one redstone signal. This is important right now because I'm using the next machine, or the next circuit, which is called a state cell. And I have this set to 5 seconds. That's not particularly important. But actually, let me just take this stuff out, and I'll show you these guys in a more convenient way. As soon as I clean up my backpack, my inventory, rather. Okay. I'm going to grab a lever. And some redstone as well. Now, Redpower 2 actually adds its own form of redstone wiring, which is actually even better than normal redstone. But for now, I'll just use normal redstone because I don't have any of it. It's not that expensive to make either. I could make some now, but it would just add a little bit more complication. So it's actually so quick that you don't even notice this. It doesn't even light up. But I'll grab my note block to show you that it will actually make a sound. And I even missed a circuit, so I'm happy I came back and picked that up. Okay, apparently they don't even transfer into regular redstone. But that's not a problem. It just means you need to get some red alloy wire, which I can show you guys after this. But as you can see, it plays one note, and you can actually see that that's flashing now. It wasn't flashing because apparently it can't connect to vanilla redstone. But that's fine, because red alloy wire is actually a lot more powerful, because you can actually move it up walls and on ceilings and whatnot as well. So you guys have already seen the sequencer, but basically just to show you with redstone, it will just, based on the world clock, it will just go around in circles, alternating redstone signals on all four sides. And you can use this for a bunch of different things. You can actually set it really low to tick something a lot. So for instance, I could put the sequencer right here and set it to like 0.2 seconds, and it would keep hitting the note block a bunch of times. But there's actually a better way to do that, which is the timer. And this will constantly run while it's not receiving power from the back. So if I put a lever on here, you can see that this thing lit up and it stopped spinning. But if I turn the redstone off, you can see that it actually ticks this. And it doesn't show up very well because it doesn't react too well with vanilla redstone, but it did light up earlier. So I think that's, yeah. So you can see it is actually being powered, just for a really, really tiny amount of time. And I will actually turn up my sound so you can hear the note block better. But as you can see, this will just hit the note block every 2 seconds. You can also push this really fast, and then you'll be able to see that, but it is a bit glitchy because it's just spinning so fast. So that's the timer, and then I want my NOT gate is really easy to use. It's just like a vanilla NOT gate with like a block of just normal block and a redstone torch. If it's powered from the back, it will not emit any redstone signals on the other sides, but if it isn't, then it will emit redstone on all other sides. And then I think the last thing that I have with me, there are some more things, but is the state cell. So the state cell is a little bit annoying because of its size, but basically what this will do is it will keep a redstone signal on in this direction for however long you let the pulse go. I mean, for however long you set this. So I can do this, and it will turn on that redstone signal. And then as soon as I turn this lever off, it will keep that redstone signal going for 2 seconds. And then it turns it off. And as an additional bonus, I believe it's on this side, it will actually emit a redstone pulse in this direction when it finishes as well. So you can keep this redstone powered, and then you can immediately go on to the next one. This is actually very useful if you want to put up multiple state cells next to each other, because you can put them perfectly in sequence and they'll just keep activating each other in a row. And then if you want to, you can run a wire down from the end all the way back to the first one and just restart it if you have something that you want to keep going back and forth over and over again. Now I want to set up what I used for my alarm clock. Now I happen to figure out that I believe the sequencer has to be facing, it doesn't actually matter which direction the sequencer is facing. But if you set it to 300 seconds, which is really the perfect time if you want to make a clock based on the Minecraft day. So I can see that because it's before noon, this must be the side. Actually, it's probably afternoon by now. I think I have the sun turned off, so I can't quite see it. But I believe this direction is the direction that it powers at dawn. So if I go there, and rather than putting a piece of redstone there, I put my pulse former. Now, as I said, it's because this outputs a continuous redstone signal, and I can only use a single redstone signal for the state cell. Because as I showed you with the state cell, as long as it keeps powered, it will keep powering its output side, but I only want it to run for as long as it says to. Because if this worked, if I didn't have a pulse former here, this would basically power it for 300 seconds, or 5 minutes, and then the state cell would just continuously be powered for that entire time, and then it would count down for 2 seconds. Now here I want to put a NOT gate, which, as I said, you can do with vanilla redstone if you want. And then the NOT gate will normally power this timer, so it doesn't run except when it becomes dawn. So when it becomes dawn, it outputs a redstone signal, it's turned into a single redstone pulse, then it's turned into the state cell where it will power this NOT gate for 2 seconds. The NOT gate will stop powering the timer, and the timer will run for 2 seconds. And at 0.2 seconds, that means it should run about 9 or 10 times before it gets turned off when the state cell finishes. And then I just put my note block there, and basically when it becomes dawn, it does all that stuff, and then the timer will also hit the note block. And it will cause the redstone signal, which will power it and emit the note. So I use this as an alarm clock by setting this under my base, and when it's morning, it will just automatically play the note block a bunch of times. And that's only like one example of a way you can use these. You can use these in all sorts of amazing ways. But the only reason I'm using that is because sometimes people on the server don't want to sleep, or they can't sleep for whatever reason, like they're adventuring, and they don't want to log out. But I still don't want to, like, there's something that I have to do outside, and I can't do it while other people are not sleeping, so I have to wait out the night. And if I have to wait out the night, then I might as well just stop playing for a while, and basically the sequencer can just let me know when it's time for me to get back on. So I can just set my sound high and do something else for a little while, and then I can just come back and it will work. This might be facing the wrong direction, and I'll actually show you a way to rotate some of these. I'm not entirely sure that you can rotate the sequencer, but you probably can. That's the only one I haven't tested. You can actually take a piece of iron and a stick and get yourself a screwdriver. Now, I've already seen multiple wrenches, and this is different. Yes, so it was the wrong direction. So you can use a screwdriver to rotate these machines as well as certain other ones. And I think this is the rotation that I want. Since it just turned night, then it would be midnight and then dawn. So that should be the correct orientation for those. And I just seal this up to stop anyone from destroying my alarm clock. And now you're probably wondering what this is, since I haven't shown it to you yet. This is the alloy furnace from Redpower 2, and it's needed for some of the more interesting items that you need. It's really easy to make. It's just like crafting a regular furnace, but rather than using cobblestone, you use brick blocks. And you need it to craft certain items. So I'm going to see if I have any sand. If not, then I don't think I've shown you a cool feature of the minium stone. I believe I tried to show it to you, but then the episode got deleted. But basically, you can additionally to changing stuff in the world like this, and changing it into sand or dirt or cobblestone or grass. You can change it between things. You can't, like, I can't take this chest and turn it into dirt. That just wouldn't really make any sense. But these are all the things you can turn it into are really basic common resources and blocks, so it makes some sense. And there are also some other things that you can change. I'm not entirely sure, but I think you can change the type of wood out in the world. But you can also craft these things together with the minium stone to change it. So for instance, I can change this wood into spruce wood, change it into birch wood or jungle wood, and back to oak wood. You can also do this with most dyes. You can't use it with some like bone meal or lapis, because those are much harder to come by. And, well, basically they're much more useful than the other dyes, because the other dyes are just dyes, whereas those have like real uses, like in recipes. Such as industrial craft, you need a lot of lapis for industrial craft. And bone meal, of course, you can use to grow crops. So if you could bone meal a bunch of ground, get a bunch of red flowers, turn all the red flowers into red dye, switch the red dye into bone meal, then you could grow way more flowers, and you could get exponential growth, which people don't like, because it's unfair and cheaty. But basically, what I'm going to do with the minium stone is there are actually other cheaper ways to do this once I have some more machinery. But for now, I'll turn it into grass blocks, and then I can turn all these grass blocks into sand. Now this does use up charges on the minium stone. You can see the damage value, 911, right there. I believe that means that it's been used 911 times out of about 1,000 uses. So it's actually running low. But that's just because I needed the sand for this. And so I'm going to put, I'll actually put half a stack of each. Because the thing that I'm going to make right now requires 8 coal and 8 sand for each one. So if you just put coal in here, or whatever other type of fuel that you want to use, it will work just like a normal furnace, except you put the entire recipe in here. And this will craft a silicon boule. Now, if you take this silicon boule with a diamond handsaw, which you do need 2 diamonds for, and it does have a limited number of uses, but that number is enormous. You can use it an incredible amount of times before it runs out of uses. You can actually cut up the silicon boule into silicon wafers, and then these wafers are what you use to get some of the other important Redpower 2 items. So, while I still have fuel in here, I can throw in some silicon wafers and redstone. And this will make red-doped wafers. The red-doped wafers are useful in a few ways. I can show you some of them through NEI, and I'll actually be explaining one a little bit later when I get to Redpower Transport, which is the filter. That's the pretty much the most basic thing you can make with them. You can also make really complicated things like the Sortron, which I might not get to at all in this season because it's just that complicated. The manager, the relay is actually another quite simple one that you can make. And then it's also used for a couple of those logic circuits. Silicon chips are just one example of the logic circuits. And you need it for Redpower 2 computers, which are very different than the Buildcraft computers that I've showed you so far. They program in a different language and are much more complicated. But basically, but getting back to these logic circuits, I actually forgot to show you some of these recipes. So basically, you can craft silicon wafers with stone just in a normal furnace. And then you can use these to create a couple different things. I have most of them here, but not all of them. The main one I'm missing is this one, which is the stone pointer. Now, because there are so many complicated logic circuits, I like to make plans of them. So for instance, my NOT gate plan looks like this. So I can just keep all of my materials in there. There aren't that many, so I could keep like a stack of each if I wanted to. And that way I can pull out a bunch of circuits of whatever types that I want. So in NOT gate, you have the sequencer, and I got mail. And you can see that I don't have enough of these. I do have 3, but I don't have quite enough, so I can't make that. But if I want to make the pulse former, I can. If I want to make the state cell, I can. Or if I want to make the timer, I can. Now, these recipes do look kind of complicated, but as I showed you, they're actually quite easy to make. And they just take a little bit of time to put the recipe in. Besides that, I'll be showing you some other cool uses for this here alloy furnace. So I'm going to load it up with some more fuel and get out some tin and copper. So I don't have too much copper, so I won't be making too much of this, but I also didn't need very much. So I'm going to put in 8 of that, and I'll just throw all of my copper in. And basically what this will do is it will take 1 tin and 3 copper in order to form 4 brass. Now you can see I have some brass here, but you will need a little bit if you want to do some fancy Redpower stuff. Now the first thing you can do with this is create pipes, or tubes rather. They're distinct from Buildcraft pipes. They work in different ways, and basically these ones are more intelligent for the most part. So I'm just going to get a couple of these. You make them in the exact same way that you do with Buildcraft pipes, which is just one of each of the materials and then glass in the middle. And you get these pneumatic tubes. Now, these are similar to Buildcraft pipes in that they can transport items. And they do look pretty cool. But you have to put items into them in a different way, and they put into machines in a different way. And it's all quite different than the way Buildcraft works. So I'm going to be back in a little bit once I make some other simple machines, such as a transposer. And I'll probably get myself another timer as well, to show you guys what I'm going to do with these tubes, which will probably not come this episode, but what I'm going to do with them will come probably next episode, I hope, because I really want to get a system going on, and I'll need these tubes to do it. So I'll be back in just a bit. Alright, well I was going to show you some more stuff, but for now the episode is getting a little bit long, so I'm just going to show you that you can use nickelite to make blue doped wafers rather than red doped wafers, and these are used, well basically nickelite as an item is generally used for Redpower 2 Bluetricity, which is like basically Redpower 2's form of electricity. And I'll be getting into those next episode along with the Redpower transport items that I was going to show you. And there's also one other thing that I'd like to mention about the jetpack that I'm using, which is the fuel-powered one. Another reason that I like to use it is not only because I think it's cooler, but also because I do kind of think the electric jetpack is OP, because you can just, it's really, really ridiculously way too easy to use. Because all you have to do is just put it in a bat box. You can charge it up with like 4 pieces of coal, and then you can just fly around for like 3 minutes straight without any consequences whatsoever. Whereas with the fuel-powered jetpack, you have to actually do a bunch of work, and then you don't even get as much flight time out of it. You are able to fly higher though, which is just like kind of a bonus. A bonus for choosing the harder route, which I find more rewarding. So that's just a word on that. You can feel free to use the electric jetpack if you want. I don't think anyone will blame you, since I'm probably the only one who has ever used that. But that'll be all for now, and I'll see you guys next episode for some Redpower Transport and Bluetricity.